What's up, guys? It's Johnny Candido of Candido Training
HQ.
And today I want to talk about a fun topic for me to discuss because my channel has been dedicated to promoting powerlifting from day one, is to see the growth of powerlifting, but then also see it now it's almost being perceived as a fad on YouTube. But I don't think it's going to work like that. And the reason being is for a couple reasons. The first one is why I started my channel. And that's because I noticed that there is an immense interest in strength in general. And think about how many people have ever bench pressed. You have millions of people who have done that movement. So you're telling me that there's not at least a couple 100,000 that are very interested to see who does that the best? If not millions who are interested in that? I don't believe that there can't be that many people at the very least interested in seeing that. So that's what I've noticed. And then I noticed that in YouTube, it was actually being realized, but it was just very inconsistent. You would see something like a Pat Mendes squat video where he squatted 800 pounds on John Brose's channel. He would have squat videos, and I remember seeing this back in the day, where they would all get a lot of views, but then they were just 1 rep max squat videos, and there was nothing really else stemming off of that in depth. And then from other channels, there would be a potato can bench press video that would get 100,000 views, and then that same guy would upload another video and it would get only a couple hundred, because there was no consistency and there was no standard in the quality being offered. So that's what I saw with my channel, is that there are amazing strength athletes that people would be interested in if they knew about them and if they were presented well. And then there's this pool of people who are all interested in it. It's just the thousands, if not millions of people who could potentially want to see it. So it's just a matter, in my opinion, of connecting those two groups. And that's the goal of my channel. That's why not only is it about me, but then it also features some other lifters from time to time. I post a picture on Instagram of John Hack, and it gets a lot of likes. People are curious about a guy who totals over 1,700. I post a video with Brett Gibbs in it, and it gets over 50,000 views. And that's the thing, is that's why I believe so strongly in it, because it's not something where I'm just interested in it, and then I put a video of Brett Gibbs, and it's just, oh, nobody cares. I'm just the one who's really interested in it because I love powerlifting. It's no, everybody respects it because they know about squatting, they know about benching and deadlifting, even if they aren't a competitive powerlifter themselves. But a point I want to make with this is now that we're seeing a lot of channels shift to this, to powerlifting, is the reaction to that is one of two reactions I've seen so far. One is to just be happy for it, just think, okay, now we're getting more attention. But the other one is to react negatively. And this is what you'll see some old school guys, they'll react like, what is this guy getting into it? He's barely been powerlifting. Why is he even making videos on it? Well, I think that's exactly what I want to happen. I want to see people starting to get into powerlifting. And when Nick Wright switched to powerlifting, I think that was fantastic. When I see Max Tuning getting into competing, guys like that getting more attention, getting into the sport, that's amazing because that grows the sport immensely. That's the biggest key to it, is to have people do it because it is popular. I don't want people to do powerlifting just because they think it can never be successful and it's going to be a like dungeon sport where you lift and no one cares. I want this thing to grow. That's the whole point. And actually, I'll go on the opposite opinion, and I'll say that a guy like Max Tuning helps the sport of powerlifting more than most world record holders ever will, because he promotes himself, he shows he's excited about lifting, he shows his training, and therefore he gets people involved in it. That's what motivates people. It doesn't matter how much you lift if you can't actually help the sport grow and actually motivate people and get people excited and inspired. At least that's just my take. Obviously there's value in just being an athlete, but my point is, if we're talking about growing the sport, we need to go beyond just lifting the bar from point A to point B. And that's something that every sport has to overcome, because to be honest, when people tell me that powerlifting is boring because it's too basic, I say every single sport is boring. At its core, if you look at it, every sport is just a series of arbitrary rules. And if we didn't know the people, or there was no hype around the individuals involved in it, if you just walked in on a high school football game to high school you didn't know of, you really probably would not even care about it. Because when it comes down to it, it is all about framing the accomplishments, about showcasing it properly, letting people get to know the athletes so they care about them, letting people understand just how difficult it is to accomplish whatever they are doing. And that will get people excited if the sport does have potential, And in my opinion, as I said, there is a basic interest in powerlifting. Now, I will say that there is a legitimate point against the growth of so many new people getting into the sport and then having channels, is sometimes they give advice that's overly definitive, or they're just not based on enough experience to give the information that they're trying to offer. And this is usually what you'll see. I've noticed it with smaller channels where they'll say you have to squat 3 times a week, you have to train full body, or else you're never going to be successful. And those people just don't really understand the history of the sport. They don't understand the variances in training styles, and they just don't have a real perspective. If you've never competed in powerlifting and are offering coaching or something like that, I've seen that happen. You are abusing it then for its popularity. You're just trying to make money. But my point is that if you're just being popular and you're showing that you're learning, and then you're just showing your training, that's the great thing. If I were to compare powerlifting to a sport where I think it's going to be in the future, I think it's going to be very similar to sprinting. And the reason why I say this is because obviously every 4 years, people are concerned with who is the 100-meter dash champion and who's the fastest in the world. And that's the title. I think that obviously strongman technically has the strongest man in the world title, but a lot of people see powerlifting as just a challenge of raw strength. So I think that there's a lot of parallels to be made by seeing that basic function, just seeing who's the best at it. Therefore, there's a lot of carryover into other sports to training for sprinting or training for powerlifting. Football players, for example, need to do both. And then also, so there's a degree of relatability. And then also the objective aspect, you know exactly who's the best in the world, and you can compare over time. So that's similar in sprinting and lifting. And then there's also the fact that there's a moment where nobody else can ever match that athletic accomplishment. So what I mean by this is if we look at a distance runner, there's no moment where you're just in awe because it's over the whole course of the whole race. It's not one single moment. Whereas there's one single moment where Usain Bolt is moving faster than any other human ever. And with lifting weights, it's like that, where there is one moment where a guy has more weight than any human has ever had on his back in the bottom of a squat. And he is pushing with more force than any human ever. And I think that that is an amazing thing that can be captured and marketed if it's produced correctly. And that's a big if. If it's just shown from a way far back camera angle and it's just basically documented to just show that it actually happened, then that's not interesting. But if we can capture the moment in a way where you can feel it, where you can almost feel the sensation of being under the bar, then I think that can be something special, and I think that can get a lot of attention. And we're already seeing this beginning to happen at IPF Worlds, where there is an excitement around it, and there is higher production value, and it's gradually, as I said, it's gradually taking off, but it's only the beginning. And I'm going to do my best to play my role, to not just obviously have this channel for myself to be successful, to teach people about strength training, but to also constantly try to give back to the sport. Because this is the sport that I love, and it's just something that I personally, it's one of the best things I've ever done in my life, was getting involved with powerlifting. So for me, I just want to see people also have the same feeling. And that's the basic desire. It's just something that I love, and I think people will love it. And that's as simple as it is. And that's why I'm so adamant about promoting it. Alright, that's it guys. I really have nothing more to add after that. Make sure to like the video, support the channel, subscribe if you haven't already, and thanks for watching guys. Peace!
Fuck a shooting star. Biggie died, they shot a star. You know in West LA, bring that ruckus to LA.